It's already November. Winter band's upon us. High school band's closing out. The year just keeps on moving.
Yeah, man, the indoor will be here before we know it. I'm sure we'll start seeing the age-old winter is coming, Game of Thrones references aplenty.
And
I
then
think everybody's pretty much set, but yeah.
Then, of course, the inevitable every single indoor group under the sun gets to announce on social media this is going to be the best year they've ever had. Super excited about this group, and there's never been a Group X better in the history of this ensemble. Like, it's so funny.
I hope that's true, because that'll be fun for me to watch. But
it'll be a great year, but it never fails every year. Drum corps is not quite as bad about it, but the indoor groups are real bad about, like, every year is going to be the best one this group's ever had going into it. And I get it. You don't want to be negative, obviously, but it just makes me smile every year.
Yeah. But before we jump into winter, though, we're going to do some backtrack, which I'm sure everyone can kind of see from the title. Before we introduce him, I'll let Fantini, I'll let you do your spiel here.
Welcome, everyone, to Aged Out Reacts. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Fantini, and with me, as always, is
Evan Worrell.
And before we introduce today's guest, make sure you comment, like, subscribe on the video, head over to Facebook or Instagram, give us a follow so you never miss an update for the podcast or the YouTube channel or anything we're getting into these days. Patreon.com, or hit the join button right here on YouTube if you want to support us financially at all. But if not, we love the viewership and appreciate it above all else. Can you tell I've done that a few times?
You getting better at it. So, but yeah, joining us from Alexandria, Virginia. Is that what you said, I believe? Mr. Matt Penland. What's up, dude?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going, man. We're just chilling. It's ironic. We were talking about indoor, but we're joined by someone who was just saying that never really got into the indoor scene. We'll kind of talk about that in a second, why not? But yeah, man, I think that it's awesome that you are in the position that you are in with your team and your co-arrangers and what you're doing, because there are obviously many iconic and prolific arrangers that have been around the activity for a while. I just love when we get a fresh injection of kind of the younger generation, because it's what has to happen in order for this to sustain and keep going and have rock solid ensembles for years and years. But yeah, why don't you, for those of you that may not know you as well as we do, give a little bit of backstory on kind of what you've done, where you've played, where you've taught, what you're doing now, and then obviously your current gig and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, right now my current gig is in Alexandria, Virginia. I'm a percussionist in the Air Force Band stationed in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I started in the ceremonial band. Actually, Tom Rarick was my section leader when I got in.
Nice.
Now I switched over pretty much across the hallway, and now I play in the concert band. So all the stuff you see behind me is me learning my music, and it's essentially a professional version of the concert band. But my roots are in marching percussion, obviously, and still, everything outside of my Air Force Band life is marching percussion still, which is what I was hoping would happen when I was younger, So I started marching. Yep. Yeah, honestly. I started marching at Crossman in high school for a couple years, and then I marched Carolina Crown. I grew up in North Carolina, so it was like my home team corps. I finally got to make Carolina Crown right before I left high school. Went over to North Texas for my undergrad, met Paul Rennick and all those guys, and that was when we were still a Phantom Regiment. So I marched Phantom Regiment 2009, 2010, and then I still had one season left when he first moved to Vanguard. So I came and aged out at Santa Clara his last year. I taught there for 10 years, if you include COVID year, which was amazing time. That was like the bulk of my learning how to teach and learning, more about the writing and all of that. And this whole time, me and my best friend, Tyler Sammons, have been writing together for high school since, I think we were like 20. We got our first gig. We used to be roommates. We were best friends in undergrad, and we used to write on the same computer. We literally shared his computer because I didn't have one. And we shared civilians, and we take turns writing these parts. And it evolved more and more until we got our first gig at Music City Drum Corps, 2019. And we're there until last summer when we got the gig at Phantom. This was our first summer writing at Phantom, which was obviously an amazing full circle moment for me and Tyler.
Oh, I'm sure.
Having marched there, he marched there for 3 summers and I marched there for 2 summers. And yeah, when we finally got, that phone call and we knew that was going to happen, it was just like we tried to take a second. I remember we called each other and just been like, this is what we talked about like 10 years ago. This is going to happen. And so, it's not lost on us the importance in like the gravity and how important this type of gig is. It's even more important to us because of the history.
Sure.
That's awesome. You spent most of your time, or all of your time, I guess, playing quads, even throughout high school, mostly, right? Playing tenors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely one single track, 6 summers in DCI on quads. My back will.
I was getting ready to
not
say, does
thank
your
me
back
later.
thank you for that every morning?
Thankfully, my wife Carolyn is a physical therapist, and she
Oh,
does
perfect.
like legit give me exercises and helps me like get through those things so that it's gonna last longer than it would have without her.
Heck
Right,
yeah,
right.
heck yeah. There's some pretty sick videos of you in high school playing, because you guys wore like kilts at your high school, didn't you?
Oh yeah, man, definitely. Scotland High School represent Scotland
Yeah.
County. Lived in Scotch Meadows. Yeah, it was like diehard. This little tiny farm town in North Carolina called Laurinburg, and yeah, the whole marching band wears kilts. My thing that I say, which is true, is that the first show I ever did at Crossman, like in uniform, was the first time I ever marched and wore pants, like in my life. And I remember like not having registered that until we were like marching in the show at my first DCI show, and I was like, this feels weird that there's like I'd only been in shorts or a kilt ever. It was just like
That's
the
hilarious.
weirdest experience. Yeah.
I guess you can get away with that in North Carolina. There's definitely people in like the northern states that do fall band. They're probably like, no freaking way.
Yeah,
It's
right.
so cold.
Yeah, you're right.
Um,
And there would always be like one game where it was too cold, but yeah, by the time it was really cold, we were done. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
convenient.
funny.
So,
Go ahead, Mike.
no, you said you started like your first drum corps writing and running a program gig was MCDC, right? So
Yeah.
eventually I want to get into, because obviously we wanted to start, just so everybody out there knows the roadmap for this whole thing. Talk to Matt a little bit, let him go over his background. Then we'll get in and watch the Phantom Regiment like percussion ensemble run at the end of the season. So we'll get to that in a minute. But how did you just apply, or did you have connections at MCDC to get that gig? What was that process like as a young blood getting into that side of the game? How did that happen?
Yeah. I was lucky enough. It was actually through a coworker in the Air Force band that I knew. A lot of people in the Air Force band have connections or came up through marching, especially through in the ceremonial band that I was starting in. And a French horn player had just retired and taught a lot of marching band in the area, so we knew each other through that. And he got the gig as the corps director at MCDC, and he was like going to move down there. And it was his second year going to be the corps director, and he called me up, and because he knew I did a lot of writing in the Northern Virginia area, and he like wanted a brand new face. It was just really lucky that he was a friend of mine, and he gave me that chance, and that was like our first foray. That same season, actually, I should not remiss not to mention that we also in 2009 started writing for 2019, started at Guardians, and we had connection there through Adam Kroback, who was the previous corps director, who was a friend of ours who marched at Vanguard. So kind of we got the open class and the kind of the lower level world class thing at the same time.
You guys really did some awesome stuff too at MCDC. That show in,
years.
I guess, was it the Rainbow Gasoline or something?
Yeah, Gasoline Rainbows. That
Gasoline
was a really
Rainbow
good
show.
one.
It was really cool. And a lot of just fresh content. I remember I didn't know you were there at the time, and I just remember seeing some videos because there's a student at a high school that I worked with teaching there. I was like, who's writing this? And so I looked it up. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Josiah was playing bass drum. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he was great for us.
Yeah. And then obviously, so when Phantom decided to make some changes or people decided to step away or whatever the case may be, I remember the first thing I was talking to people about it. I remember I was talking to Josh Bricky. I was like, dude, they should hire. And I told him your name. And he's like, that actually would make a lot of sense. And then when I saw it, I was like, all right, there it is. But that's pretty cool that you and Tyler, kind of had that vision and spoke it into existence. And I'm sure, obviously, have graduated from sharing a computer, which I can only imagine was like, dude, did you save the files? Did you save the files? Like,
man, yeah, it was wild. We shared a bedroom. We were, when you're in undergrad, you're just trying to save money. There's like 4 of us in a 3-bedroom, and me and Tyler had our little twin beds next to each other in like one computer. It was like total undergrad life.
But I can't imagine too. It's like, well, I want to do this here, so you're gonna have to change that, or like, I want to do this here, so you're gonna have to change that. Like, instead of just like emailing it to somebody or like sending them a file to upload, it's like, just change it right now.
We're probably
even-
aspects of that
even
that
now-
we're more efficient.
Yeah, I was gonna say even now we usually would just like instantly call each other. And Tyler's, he teaches at a high school, but he'll even usually if he has like a 5-second break, he'll just like answer the phone real quick and be like, "Yeah, what's this thing?" Okay, yeah. We're really good about just trying to pick up really quick because the texting and the emailing, yeah, it just takes forever.
Right.
Right, for sure. And then also, I guess this summer too, was this JD's first summer back at Phantom?
No, he was back the previous summer as well.
Okay, all right. I don't
Yeah.
keep up with that world as much, but I knew he was pretty
All right.
pretty new back into it, which is awesome. And obviously, the core had a very successful summer. Not even just from a competitive standpoint, from just putting out a really good product,
Yep.
Which we'll get into, and then we'll talk about just some of the design process, some of the inspiration. I know before we got on, we are talking about some of the implementation and just the ideas behind that. But yeah.
So do you want to start there, or do you want to start with like how the start in the camp season and just like go through the season? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense chronologically. But Jared Quartz is a good friend of ours who did a little bit, I guess, on the very front end with you guys, and obviously you marched Phantom with Jared. And he had told us about like, yeah, I'm sure just with the transition of having a new staff coming in that, we heard that the registration wasn't like great. I'm sure some people were probably like, well, we don't know who these people are yet. So like,
yeah, full new staff plus a younger staff that's a lesser known name in the activity or in the arranging game at this point. But yeah.
So
Yeah,
was the winner pretty trying or pretty like nail biter at first?
Yeah, I mean, we still had a couple like really strong players show up, and we knew that was going to happen. I mean, we did have some. Thankfully, we had like the connection with the players we had taught from MCDC, where they were probably ready to go to a different core anyway. So it worked out well that we got a lot of our personal student vets. I guess I don't know what we would call them, but students that we had taught before that knew the system that came to Phantom, and that was really lucky that they were willing to make that type of change with us. So that helped a lot. But yeah, I mean, it turned out great, but you're probably right. I mean, think about when we were auditioning, like I auditioned at places because of the names, probably. I wasn't usually the person that auditioned because of the drum corps, although that was like a nice side effect. But, I would go to places because Paul Rennick was there or because Lee Betters was there or whatever. Like,
right.
So, yeah, people know just like my quad video of me in a kilt. That's probably not like enough of a reason. So hopefully, we're already started auditions this season, and it's definitely an uptick now that people see what it is.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, see the system.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys
I
had
think-
you
Go
guys
ahead,
had like extremely, considering a first year staff at a new organization, you had an extremely successful competitive season percussively. I mean, the core overall had a great year, a great summer, but I thought you guys did a phenomenal job, and I mean, like the placements and everything kind of show that for a first year staff at an organization experiencing a changeover like that. It's just so I would fully expect, like you just said, that you all would have like way higher turnout this year compared to last year after having this solid summer. What's the vet situation like? No, sorry.
No, I was gonna say it was amazing. I mean, there's a big learning curve for it. Like, we've had this core team together for a couple years, especially me and Tyler and Cheese, or Jesus. Most people call him Cheese, but the three of us, are the core team, and we've been together teaching for a long time. And as soon as, like we even heard about it, and the first person we call is Cheese, just to make sure he's on board because he's part of the team. And I should say now, it's really Tyler and Cheese are the ones that are there on the boots on the ground doing the teaching. I do a lot in the off season, and I do the arranging and stuff. But when it comes to the summer, I'm there 10 days on a good summer just because of my work. So like the end result is definitely me in the background. Tyler and Cheese are the ones because of their availability, and they're amazing teachers that are there making it what it is.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, we'll come back to this upcoming audition on the back end. I'm gonna roll out the red carpet for that. But yeah, let's jump into some Exogenesis Phantom Regiment 2023. This has the battery and the front that you'll be able to hear, so it's kind of a great full musical package. Shout out to Robert Martinez. I believe this is one of his videos.
It is. It is.
Our Bass 311, which, you know, again, just being there to document this for the members to have, and also obviously for us to have to watch. So shout out Drum Corps Coffee Shop. Go follow, like all their stuff. Be in the know. Yep.
Comment, like, subscribe.
Thanks, Rob.
Same deal. You all know the drill. All right. I should have switched scenes now. You both can see still screen share.
Yep.
All right. Let's jump in, and then I'm sure we'll stop very quickly. There's that washboard stuff you were talking about.
Ribbon crashers.
All the different textures and colors. Just super
Bass
creative.
drums on the wood.
Pause it for a second so I
Sure.
can give this other company the right credit they deserve. So, like, everyone kept calling those ribbon crashers. I guess they are a variation on a ribbon crasher, but this is from this company called Creative Percussion. I think it's literally creativepercussion.com. And so we can talk about the washboard thing too, but I use all my buddies at the Air Force Band as a resource all the time, and they're always like hearing my woes about writing, whatever, and they're all every day I'm like coming in, I'm like, yeah, I gotta write this opener for Phantom, and I really want to try out these cool new sounds. And one of my buddies, who's a drum set player, Dan Dowling, in the Air Force Band, just said like, oh, check out this website, and he like had one of these things that are magnetic, and he threw it on the toms on the drum set, and it's like a Wiro stack, so you can scrape across it, right? You'll see a couple times if you replay it, they make some scraping sounds and some hitting sounds. So it's like kind of a dual instrument, and it's all magnetic. And that was really important to me, because what I hate about ribbon crashers, and I try never to write them in high school, is that you have to keep them on the drum, and then you just end up having to use them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if they're there, you get critiqued if you don't use them. So it's so important to me that we could take it away and put it away. So you'll notice we only use it a couple times in the show, and nobody ever commented on it because it fits in the stick bag. And it's this tiny little sliver, creativepercussion.com, and we flip it off, disappears.
That's super
Same
cool.
reason
That's
that we
pretty
did the
slick.
washboard thing.
That's really smart.
We cut the washboards to be the exact width and size of a Vic Firth bag if you take out, or an innovative bag, I guess in this case, if you take out the seam in the middle. So they just disappeared into a stick bag without a seam in the middle, and then we never had to use them again. And that was a really important thing, because it's just, you know, lessons you've learned from like BOA and things when you have a gawk block on the drum for the whole time, and then I just feel boxed in a corner writing for it all the time.
Right. That's super cool. Super creative.
Creativepercussion.com. Heck yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Go
everyone
check it out,
They've
everybody.
got some amazing product. It's all like metal. You know, the guy is just working with metal to create all these different sizes and shapes. It's really neat.
Heck yeah. I love
All
that.
right. So we backed up so we can catch all that stuff we just talked about. So we'll give this
Yeah.
another shot here.
Definitely a lot of independence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's like some of the scraping in the left hand.
Mhm.
It's really subtle, but you could tell really easily when you're up on it.
When you are up on it.
Maintaining rhythmic clarity coming on and off that thing, too, is difficult. Really well done.
Yeah, Cheese talked about that a lot during the summer. So here's like one of the times you could actually hear the washboard sound, where it's really isolated with the horn soloists.
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of interplay back and forth between all the
Yeah.
sections, but I know we
I
talked
love that
about
little
it.
part at the end. We can talk about the washboard thing. I guess I keep saying
Yeah,
washboard,
sure.
but I didn't even really talk about it. That was just, I guess, interesting backstory. That started as I was trying to think of a different sound, and same thing. I was like in our back storage room at work. We just have all these percussion instruments, and I'm like hitting all these different things. And I really wanted to use. Have you guys ever seen the drumstick? It's called like a rasping stick, and it's like a drumstick with all these ridges in it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so you can
Yep.
kind of scrape it.
Yep.
And Andy Akiho uses it in a bunch of pieces, and we were using an Andy Akiho piece for the drum break. So I was like trying to find a way to tie it all in. So I got this rasping stick, and it sounds really cool when you rub it against like a temple block with a really sharp edge, wooden edge. And I found a way, and I wrote a whole like 2-minute intro for the quads with like a temple block on drum 4. We spent multiple camps learning it. with this rasping stick, and it just wasn't loud enough. And then finally, one of the quad techs was like, "What if we just flip it and you get like the wood is ridged, and then we can just use regular sticks?" And it was Riley Sophie just came up with this idea where he was like, "You should just like get a washboard or something like that." And he said that, and I just like Googled it, found a washboard on Amazon, and like cut it to fit into the drum, and it was 20 times louder than what we were doing before. And then we didn't have to buy a special stick or anything. So it's kind of like 10 steps later, this was the end result, was the ability to just like use a mallet, just made it a little bit louder. And I liked the idea that we were like using multiple implements.
Yep.
Makes sense. You never just know where something's organically going to flow, and somebody's like, why don't we just do this? And you're like, yeah, why didn't we do that from the beginning?
And that's what we call the creative process, everybody. All right, we'll catch the tail end of that again and let it keep going into that front moment.
Little Mars reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Pearl drums. Good roll.
I love Pearl and Dynasty drums.
So pause. So this is a pretty long, extended, like build up into this big climax, into the dun 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 dun. Just a really long, extended phrase where there's a lot of trading back and forth. Some like micro phrasing that builds into the big full moment. And I know you guys started pretty far back, like side one, and then the front ensemble too is offset side two. So I'm sure from like an ensemble timing standpoint, with like all season work and that ends, like, all right, we gotta arrive together, team. But I just love those long phrases where it takes a long time to develop, and then you kind of get the payoff at the end.
Oh yeah, I mean that's something I try to be conscious of, and I like as I'm arranging more and more years trying to get better at. If I like had to critique myself, that's the critique I get, and when I listen back to my own music, is like the best arrangers and like the coolest drum lines we listened to or used to listen to when we were kids did these crazy long phrases.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I think of like the early 2000s Vanguard, Jim Casella type things, and it's just in my DNA to kind of write little licks, and I keep trying to pull away from that. And JD is great at like kind of fostering that in us and reminding us. And for example, at this beginning of the show, you know, he was like, really see if you can make it wait until that moment you're talking about, the muse, bum 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 bum, to be like a real first arrival.
Right.
Yep.
And the implements helped with that, like adding those sounds and then being able to like take away a layer, you know, automatically had it, the orchestration like crescendoed by taking sounds away and moving to the drums. And, you know, it helped with that.
Definitely. It keeps it moving forward without having to write a lot of density just by changing the color and the timbres. So makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Keep the macro phrase.
One thing we learned.
No, go ahead.
If there's one thing we learned this summer is that density is not always the best idea. You know, like it's unnecessary depending on where you are on the field. And like you just said, we started, you know, backside one. We're gradually moving forward really slowly. There's no reason to write all these crazy licks until it's actually exposed, just because you're playing the game a little bit. You just need to write what's musically appropriate until
and
you
effective,
have the window.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's the trick of keeping the macro phrase and the big picture building the whole time, yet keeping all the little micro moments within it interplaying in an interesting way that still builds at the same time. Let's see.
Let's keep going.
Yep. Good
Takes trombone solo going over top.
I love the bass drum mirroring on that run with the triplet roll.
Now we've obviously have a very drastic style shift kind of in the velocity.
Like the first little percussion moment into rock out. It's like straight up used. Not hiding it at all.
Yeah, I love music, especially this era.
Little drum fill. Trying to find a reason to get some different, you know, leave the eighth notes. There's so many in a row that it was like, this one fill has to be 5 notes.
Yeah, because obviously a lot of rock music is very square at times. So finding those ways to
Yeah.
deviate with the variety, for sure. All right, where can we create a pocket?
I find myself doing that a lot when in the arranging, and I'm just like go back. And I'm like, okay, we've been playing eighth notes for like 2 minutes. I gotta like, if you find the right time to play, you put in like one triplet or one little fivelet. That's like a really memorable moment.
Mm-hmm.
So we really hadn't played any like half note fivelets until that, 8 counts. I just leaned into it for the entire 8 counts.
Yep.
And it
Just to
shifts
make
the
a point, to be
velocity. You
honest.
get that like
Yeah, just-
push of like the gas pedal a little bit and then back off. So
And the
Yeah, I
unexpected
remember the
nature
first
of the random rhythm to the audience member or the judge has got super effective. When you've been playing one feel for
Yeah.
well, even like 2 counts of a different rhythm can just smack the judge in the face or the audience member. Just super impactful as a listener. Excuse me.
Remember the first time I played it, or maybe it was like the first camp, one of the staff members on like brass staff or something was like leaned over to me and they were like, that rhythm confuses me. And I was like, good.
That's what it's supposed to do.
The point is that it's supposed to like confuse you, and then everyone comes in on one. And I was like, all right, that just told me I accidentally nailed it.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
yeah, usually if the brass can't feel it, it's all right.
Yep.
Another kind of percussion transition / feature moment, definitely heavy in the keyboards. And this student had a ton of mix meter between 6/8, 5/8, 3/4, like a good tune, a chance to like feature the brass with the right tempo for 16th notes plus the mix meter, but added a little extra difficulty.
What was the source on that one? The source material?
So this was it was this brass band arrangement. Okay. Oh yeah, As If a Voice Were in Them is what it's called, from
Okay.
Waspy is the guy's name, Oliver Waspy. We get a lot of really amazing source material from these like British brass band competition pieces that are, they've lent themselves perfectly, because especially for the movements we're trying to show off the brass. So JD found this piece, and I don't know if he had known it for a while, but it like, we can use this verbatim and it will feature the brass, right? As long as we can find the right tempo. So most of the beginning of this, we're all supportive, all the rest soloists were coming in underneath, and then we fade back away just to add a transition so we can shift the eyes to the next soloist type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Right.
Go back a little bit. Did you back up?
I backed up some. You want to
Okay.
back up more?
Yeah, no, well, just to the kind of beginning of this, I was going to catch it.
Yeah, this is like horn solo. One ensemble sneaks in at the end. And then little like 16 counts of front ensemble, but we disappear right away back to horns. Trumpets playing 16th notes over top of us the whole time. Yeah, we switched to the 6/8, now we're back to the 3/4. We spent a lot of time like trying to play with, should I outline the 6/8 constantly and make it too obvious, or can you like, if we have someone else outlining 6/8, you can play with the accents so you can, make the audience feel the 3/2, depending
Right.
on the moment.
That's smart. Also, like kind of the change up with the feet speed too.
Oh, there's a ton of it, yeah. I think there's even a couple of moments here where the snares and quads are different. Yeah, like right here. The snare parts kind of work better in 3/4, so we just changed their feet. So the quad part was definitely in 6/8. So we just asked the visual people, it doesn't make any difference. They're drilled separate.
Nice. That's cool.
Smart.
Subtle
That
too.
was one of the moments we used the washboard that it probably didn't come across, but I really liked that part, so I tried to cut it. Long build. Do like 6/8 groove right here. You can't hear it, but this is like an example. You can kind of play around with the accents here, because in the front ensemble we had like literally a sampled cowbell showing everyone in the audience that we're in 6/8. We're in 6/8, so you can play around with the other accents.
Sometimes you gotta spoon feed it on a first
Yeah.
read.
It ended up working amazing.
I
This
think
is
that
into
pause.
the-
Oh well,
Yeah.
it's at the end of the phrase anyway. But
Yep.
yeah, sometimes you only get one read, so you want it to come across comfortable for the audience, but also for the adjudicators too. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, we want you to get this. Like, we're gonna drive it home.
Yep.
So, and I think from experience doing a little bit of judging too, there's nothing better than when you just get something, you're like, oh, I see
Mhm.
exactly what you're trying to do here. If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's good
That's
for
exactly
like,
what happened.
yeah,
The-
the
Where the
judging
judges were
and
like, "Is this supposed to be a groove?" And we were all like, "Yeah, of course, because we know the parts in our yeah."
Yeah.
So then I think it was JD who's finally like, "Let's just give him the quarter notes," and then everyone loved it because everyone understood it, and we
Right.
were like, "Okay,
Right.
we should have thought of that to begin."
Well, I mean, like you
evolution
said,
of a show.
like you said, Evan. I mean, what's person that judges finals? What do they maybe have seen a core 3 times? There's stuff. I
Right.
mean, I watch videos a ton, and I miss stuff on until like the 6th read. So like,
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there's some people looking back at the panel. I'm sure they probably saw everybody at least a couple times, but
I'm sure.
that doesn't
yeah.
always happen.
Oh, for sure. You might have somebody judging finals, or one of the 3 nights of only saw you one other time at the Allentown
Or-
regional week before or something, or whatever.
Especially in like the upstairs box, like music analysis, like that may be their first time judging you in that caption. Maybe they were in music GE at another show or something else, just a different caption. So
Yeah, so I'll never hold it against a group to make something obvious. Just from a competitive standpoint, it makes sense by the nature of the activity. So
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely a lesson learned this summer. This
Very
is
different feel.
the main drum break of the show, Andy Kehoe piece.
velocity jump for sure.
No word to no one. Drum break.
Go back. Good use of like the press stroke in there too to just create a quick like
Pause.
breath, like
Yeah.
pause. It's like a visual and musical pause, like clear the air, the palette.
Yeah,
It's a palate cleanser before
And-
the end of the phrase.
it also just gives, I don't know, it's like back to what I was talking about, that 5-lit fill that I did in the opener. It's like adding an extra little sound just to kind of throw you off,
Mhm.
because sometimes for me, I think, especially with this music, this Andy Kehoe music, like the cool effect was like not really being sure where the beat was. The whole thing was written in 7/8 and we wrote it out in 7/4. But so I kind of like the idea that you weren't sure what time signature you were in, and adding a press buzz on an off beat just made it more confusing. And then you just feel it, cadence at the end with that easy rhythm. You're like, oh, that's where it was. And then you just didn't have time to think about it,
Mhm.
I did a 7.
I like that feeling as a listener when I'm watching drumline. So that's like my favorite thing in a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when it's just the same all the time, you're like, all right, it's like, I don't know, it gets stale.
When it stays the same, it runs the risk of overstaying its welcome. For the audience, it's like, okay,
Sure.
where are we going here? Yep.
Nice bass.
Yeah, this is us coming down from behind the back hatch, getting our moment finally.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, same idea there. I was just like trying to put rhythms over the bar line until the very end, make it line back up.
Good threes.
Breeze, yeah. Was it the same hand?
I think so.
Yeah, same hand, flam 5 at the end.
I love those.
Throwback.
Yeah,
same
go back.
hand.
Yeah, go back. But yeah, with the quads too, just like I think it's easy. Well, me saying this as a snare drummer, but like when I'm watching quads, it's easy for people to just like, oh, we're moving around, like just like stay in the same meter. It's like, all right, like you're playing a lot of 16 those. It's crazy. I probably can't play it, but like what you're saying, just give me something like different in here.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 ways to do it, I think. And you'll see in our other drum break, before the closer, we kind of tried to do the opposite, where we played like a same skill set over and over. So it's like, that's the 2 sides of the grayscale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Overly complicated rhythms, and that just makes it hard. And you hope that like the judge notices how many rhythms you're playing, or you just play singles as fast as you can, and then that's
Display
like the cowbell. You know what I mean?
Display the
But it's also
consistency of it. Yeah.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
The groups that do both are usually the ones that win.
Yeah. What's the thing on the sheet, Evan? The difference of skill sets or range of skill sets, whatever it is. Like it's
range of skill
it's
sets.
not difficulty
variety.
on the sheets. We've said it on on here before. It's not difficulty. It's variety. That's the word I couldn't think of. Variety of skill sets demonstrated or whatever it is. So yeah,
you got to know the sheets too.
Yep.
Yeah. The egg beater? I love egg beaters.
Yeah, it's like a 9-lit sticking egg beater and singles at the end. So like 5 + 4, egg + 4 at the end. That was like, that measure I remember happened live at a camp where we were learning it. And then me and Cheese were both standing there as the singers were learning it. And we both were like, I think that needs one more measure. And then we just like, Cheese was like, what about the sticking? And then we were like, what about the sticking? And then we just added that weird sticking at the end.
Classic add-a-lick.
It was just like, it seemed like the crescendo should last longer. We needed that suspended cymbal to keep going. Those are the best moments when you're just doing it live and all the
organically like that. Yeah.
It accidentally feels amazing to play, and you're like, great, it's in. Like, if it feels good and it sounds
feels
hard,
right.
It's
probably right.
Yeah, 100%.
Coming up with something weird that, like, I don't know why this feels good, but it does. It's just like, all right, well, we'll just roll with it.
Yeah, it's always a huge win. This is Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto. Tyler killed it with this part of the arrangement.
Good opportunity.
It's got the rubato in there that they handle that so well. It with the soloists too, and like the push and the pull written in the music, and yeah, it's amazing.
Good opportunity.
I love those little trills he wrote.
Virtuosity.
When's the last time you see full marimba line play a roll and then like a 4-stroke trill into the next note? I love that he wrote that. The rhythm changes.
Was the timpani player playing vibes just then?
Yeah, so we had a dual. The end vibraphone also played 2 timpani, so we didn't have a dedicated timpanist. He did both. Yeah, exactly.
I was
Often.
like,
that's
sweet.
really cool.
Well, I mean,
it was just like a couple moments in the show that, and Tyler's a timpanist. You know, he played timpani for 5 summers in DCI, so he's like, well, there's a couple moments in the show that need, you know, like I need a timpanist. So, but we didn't have the numbers and we didn't have the space on the truck. There was all these back and forth. So the compromise was, well, then give us 2 timpani and I'll just make the most important parts there. Which I think probably made it way more fun for Austin that he got to do both the whole summer.
To do both, yeah.
I love the sound of timpani and just the way it can,
so much.
The warmth and like depth it can add to a phrase.
Yep.
I know logistically it's not everyone's favorite.
not fun.
Always
it's not everyone's favorite thing to lug around or pack or transport, but I mean, they're just
It's a unique sound. It's really hard to replicate it like electronically. You know, you don't see people really doing that anymore because it's always sounds manufactured. But there's just something about, I agree, like the depths of sound of a real drum that you can't get anywhere else.
He probably played it. Did he march in 2010 with you?
Yeah.
So he probably played this then. One that's always really easy for me to pick out my brain is like at Phantom in 2010. You guys get to the end of the quad phrase, and it like leads in down. Like you can just hear it, like it fills in into the full battery moment out of the quad feature. I'm like, yeah, that's a great run.
Yeah, I remember when he added that in live, like in the rehearsal. Paul Rennick was like, I feel like we need him here. Can you just play this 5-lit? You know, can you pick up that 5-lit? And Tyler was like, yeah. Played a 5-lit. I was like, got it.
That's a great one. So
it's so cool when you hear stories like that of so many people, so many summers of drum corps, of just like so many iconic moments came out of just organic ideas in the middle of rehearsal. Just in the moment, it's like, oh, just put that right there. And then it's like a moment that people talk about how many years later now? 13 years later. I've heard people time and time again talk about, and those always end up being like great stories they have, nostalgic memories of that season, and just just iconic moments come out of that organic nature of the activity. You know, you plan so much in the preseason, and you just get in it in the thick of things, and you're like, oh no, change this, switch this, add this, and try this, and it's so cool just how these shows develop throughout the summer.
I think one thing Lauren talked about too when we were talking with her was kind of the approach that, you know, I'm sure you and Tyler learned a lot from this as well and probably implement, was just like learning how to fit music with the rest of the pieces. And she would always talk about too, when we talked with her, like, yeah, they would say like, all right, put this crash at the end of like the mellow moment, not like, hey, I want you to put this on beat 3 of bar 58 or whatever that can mean. It's like, no, fit it at the end of this crescendo, we're going to have a concert symbol or whatever. And just learning how your part fits with the whole. I always take that to heart. Just hearing it from her on this podcast, it's like, that makes so much sense. And like, I try to always instill that with like the high schools I work with, like, put this at the end of the bass drum run, like, just listen for it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true of the way that we were taught. I mean, Lauren was there all those years with us too. And it's just like speaking to, I do this with my high school students too. Like you just said, you like speaking about the music, like in phrases rather than like making it a math problem, you know, just like giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to understand these musical terms, or if they don't, they're going to figure it out, and it's going to make them just more aware of the bigger picture. And when I'm teaching the music at Phantom, the few times I actually get to be there at the camp to teach it, I'm often telling the whole percussion ensemble, right, this is a transition moment going to the mellophone thing. You haven't heard it yet, but this is what you should expect when the horns are coming, and let's play just these 4 counts because this is a transition, you know. And we like to explain it that way ahead of time, so they're framing it in their minds the same way we were when we wrote it, in hopes that, you know, some of those small nuances might come across sooner.
Right. Because I mean, when you write it, or even when you just like listen to music on the radio, you're not like thinking like 1, 2, 3, 4 or something. You know, you're just like, you're grooving. You're just listening to the music and the lyrics. So like that stuff makes sense, because then it makes it more consistent to me in my experience too, just with high school kids even. It's like, I don't trust that you're going to count like this the whole time. And I also don't want you like micro thinking about the show that way. Like, relax your brain. Think about the
almost
big picture.
never works.
Yeah. We don't need you doing calculus on the field or statistics. Like, just feel it.
Get up.
I teach, actually, this is a good segue because I have this issue sometimes. I teach at a math and science and technology high school down the street. It's called Thomas Jefferson High School. It's honestly, it's one of like the top high schools in the country academically. You know, a lot of kids, it's like a private high school almost. And they're all crazy gifted in not music usually. And trying to get them to think about phrases is really a struggle, but I do it almost more on purpose with these students to try to get them out of their like really meticulous, because they all want to count 1 and 2 and every measure. And I always just like love the process of trying to get them out of that. It's really fun.
Yeah. Get out my protractor and my Bunsen burner and figure out why
they're going to watch this and make fun of me for saying that at rehearsal, but
hey man,
they all figure it out, and they're great musicians as well.
Nothing wrong with being a math person, all right? 1s and 0s make the world go round.
Definitely not.
That's Mike for sure. He's a math person.
I have a graduate degree in math, so I was always that kid that was 1s and 0s and counting the rhythms, hearing them in my head the whole time, and it's why I only ever played snare drum. It was a math problem the whole time.
Yeah, Mike's like, what count is this? I'm like, I don't know. It's just I don't know.
We would be in rehearsal, and Evan would sometimes, even at X and stuff, like my last season in the activity, he would just look at me and like, he could tell my brain was like short circuiting, trying to like put some body to something. And he's like, dude, shut up, stop thinking, and just do it. And the next rep, I'd like
full send.
I'd just like turn the switch off, and the next rep was always like 13,000% better. It was awesome. It was just like turn off that math.
Sorry, we're going down a rabbit hole. Most of the time too, like X, like the music wasn't like written down. We were just like, it's like what you and Cheese were talking about at like camps, like, oh, this feels good. Like Tim was just teaching it to us, like, this works, like this sticking. We're like, what rhythm is that? He's like, I don't know. It's these stickings in this space. All right, here we go.
At one point he was like, it's 13 notes in 2.5 counts, or like whatever it was. And I was like, okay, we'll just fit this in here somehow.
I still remember that sticking actually. So
I probably do too. Actually,
double.
We're not gonna go there.
Left or right, left. But
yeah, it was weird.
So there's that random aside.
Right,
let's get back to Phantom and finish the show out.
Like that from Dan and Travis too. Yeah.
playing timpani and vibes. Great.
Yeah, back where we left off. Nice job, off. The huge ballad hit, where like off to the side, kind of behind the horns. This was actually amazing form, but ended up being a hard timing thing because what you brought up at the beginning, hit being kind of off-centered. We were like slightly off to the side one here, stationary. So constantly working on that. And we did get a lot of credit for that, and people acknowledge that, but it was like an unintended consequence of the really cool location of the pit. But, you know, it reared its head many times in the summer. This is me, you know, modulated to the 9-lit at the end, just trying to make the whole note have some type of direction so we can move our hands faster. We're standing still, so you didn't have to figure out the feet or anything, you know.
I gotta back up because I love those
like,
singles.
It's a grouping of 5-lits within a bigger 9-lit, just because I remember I literally had to like play it back and make sure it was an okay speed, just trying to fit in enough notes.
So like exciting. A 9-lit over the course of like a full bar.
I guess I didn't. It's more like I was just trying to write music to the dotted quarter note. It's really the way I guess I should describe it. Most of it was based around 9-lit figures, but yeah, dotted quarter note was like getting the beat in my head.
I got you.
Super impressive for them to feel the space between those singles, though. Just like crazy difficult.
I bet Sibelius or Finale had fun with that.
Yeah. I get pretty in the weeds with like the way the music looks when I hand it to them. I'm like the total notation guy. Like I have to make it right. Definitely a downfall of my timing of getting music out. Big bass break here.
Yeah, let's go back. I'll catch that again.
We'll take that one more time.
Crazy singles.
Yeah, we'll catch all this.
This is the other big drum feature moment of the show that we got. We added about halfway through the season, actually.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw some of the music early season, like because you just see like the lot videos, I was like, all right, like they're playing really well. Are they gonna have like enough in the tank to like get them like up there at the end? And then when like I actually saw the show in the field, I was like, all right, this makes way more sense.
Made way more
like,
sense.
The opportunities of exposure and like what was presented and when was presented, I was like, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, we ended up by the end of the season having 2 real main moments, and we just tried to concentrate everything to those 2 main moments. That's kind of the feedback we were getting too. Was like, we can't go back there anymore. You got to be a little more strategic. And lesson learned. We made a bunch of minor changes that ended up good by the end.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, let's get this bass start. Ooh. Nice.
I love the bottom bass throughout all that. Hell yeah.
You like egg beaters?
I do really like egg beaters.
I too.
They feel great.
I too like egg beaters.
Coming back in here, playing off their accents. So yeah, this drum break was my attempt at the other side of the scale. Was I'm gonna play 8 paradiddles and paradiddles in a row on purpose, and we're gonna play a 5-lit roll into a 5-lit single, all one height type of thing. Like, this was my response halfway through the summer. The feedback we're getting was like, okay, it's really intricate. Where's your other moment?
Mm-hmm.
So this was a response. Was like, okay, you're right. I need to have both sides of the coin.
Where's your like RAM moment, like that you demonstrate?
Like,
you can just play some choppy stuff.
Where's your notes at?
The first time we listen to it, I don't want to be confused. That's kind of what I was thinking of it as.
Yep.
Speaking of notation, though, and you being a stickler for notation, do you do your egg beaters as 5 even notes, or is it like the 3-2?
Always 5 even notes. I will like change.
That's the right way to do it.
If I have
Correct
to.
answer.
Yeah, it's like because I want them to be 5 even notes. It'd be really cool if they weren't. That'd be like a different harder skill. But
that's how I first saw it notated, though, was like in a
Really?
16th note with the 16th note triplet and the to like and a ooh and a ooh. I was like, what is this? But then over time, I just saw them like in fivelets and stuff. I was like, this makes way more sense.
It's a criminally underused rudiment in today's activity.
Yeah, what was the I also wrote the book for Caballero's drum corps, the DCA drum corps, for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one year I wrote like, I think I wrote like 30 egg beaters. It was like something ridiculous. It was something where like the tempo worked so well. And Mark Monahan, he loved it though. He was just like, wow, that's like the skill of the summer, I feel like.
When the tempo of the music tell you what to do, you know, you can't not
it
write
can
the egg
pull
beaters.
some people too, because you get the right hand three without having to be good at threes in the left.
There you go.
100%, you get it. Yeah.
It's an efficiency move. Efficiency move.
Highlighted. Take a spot.
All those little spaces in this phrase are sweet.
Yeah, the horns are kind of doing like a stop time. You can hear it in the marimbas. They're outlining that horn part.
I will say that's probably the one moment of this book so far where I feel like I could hear the Vanguard or Paul Rennick influence. Check it out, the trading of the accents. Pause it real quick,
yeah.
go back.
Between the flat
Because
line.
that takes me back to like the 07 like 07 book in the drum. Like, check it out, I got it. Like, that's probably like the first moment in this entire thing that I felt like I can hear the influence of that on your life.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was there
life.
playing it, you know, and at UNT and everything. I mean, I'm not trying to hide it. Like, I play I write the licks that come to my head, and those are the licks I gravitate to because I'm, such a fan of his writing too. I try to always put my own little spin on it, but like at a certain point, if I write it the first time and I think it sounds really effective, you just try to leave it because you don't. When I was younger, I feel like I made things worse because I was trying not to be, a certain way. I didn't want to be in that box. Maybe my first time writing for drum corps, and then I was just like, why am I doing that? I'm making things different than I hear them in my head.
It's part of your upbringing. It's part of your education. Like, it's gonna be there no matter what.
Exactly.
As hard as you try, like, it's gonna come out naturally because you spent so many years playing and in that system and way of thinking. So why fight it?
I mean, everybody does that. I mean, it would be, like you said, foolish to kind of like try to restrict that natural impulse. Because even, when we were talking with Scott Johnson or Mike McIntosh, they're like throwing odes to like stuff they did with like Tom Float, or like I know the Colts had like the Thurston lick and stuff in there. Like,
yeah,
those things are just kind of like, like, why am I going to fight it? This is what I want to hear.
It works. It's cool. Why not? But
I will say, like, that's kind of like a lot of the book feels fresh and like its own style. Mm-hmm. But then obviously, like, your experience is your experience. Like, I played for Lee for 2 summers, so I'm sure if I wrote a book, there would be some things in there. It's like, all right, we're gonna play some ninelets in here.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably some ninelets be in there from time to time.
I feel like I take some stuff from Lee sometimes too, and I take stuff from Travis. I mean, I taught Travis's music for like 6 indoor seasons, and I'm, I just have that. This is the most recent thing I taught, and I don't know. That year at Carolina Crown was really formative, so I still take things from there too. Obviously, nothing was as many years as it was under Paul, but I mean, I like to think I take something a little bit from everywhere.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's the sum of the parts.
Love that 5-lit on the quads. That was like a added 2/4 bar with silence, and I was like, let's play 5. We have 2 counts, let's play 5. That was like another, how can I make this interesting?
Yeah.
Sneaking that 4 in there.
Big Maestoso section, halftime.
Rubato.
Yeah. The big, huge, loud moment. The chords all in that like diamond shaped form. Go back to like trying to fit in dense rhythms in the middle of that space. Modulated to like the dotted 8th note a little bit. Same idea as the ballad. Kind of a recall. But that was, I mean, speaking of what we just talked about, actually that's funny because that lick I was trying to intentionally quote O3 Phantom. You know, that drum break at O3, they play like Forlitz, pair, shot.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I just did it exactly as Forlitz, 100% on purpose, just seeing if anyone would notice. Cheese noticed immediately. He laughed. I remember like when he saw that what I was doing. But I just remember like when I was younger, I loved that O3 Phantom line, and I put
Yeah.
it underneath like a 7F horn part that no one would really notice except unless you like watch the lot video. But that I remember I did that on purpose as like kind of a thing to myself. Oh, I love that lick and it works really well at this tempo. And I don't
Why
think Paul
not?
will care.
There you
I
go.
don't think so.
Last tempo to the end. There's getting up on the prop here that we added towards the end of the season.
Nice.
Oh, I love that PDD roll in the middle of that.
5-lip pair roll.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I get so impatient with the like, I just make Cheese's job harder. I'm just like, here's all the things I don't play in Anthem more than one measure. Sorry.
I mean, it keeps it fun for the members. I'm sure they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all right, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
That's
This
awesome.
funky lick. I mean, obviously, I think you guys killed it
Oh yeah.
first. Just kind of
Thanks.
not your first year arranging, but obviously your first year in a new team, a new system, a new brass, a new just core director, like just getting down the road different for obviously you said you weren't on tour as much, but just the whole team. So I would only imagine the synergy will increase as the years are added up here going forward, year 2 with the full team, because you guys pretty much brought everybody back, right?
That's where I was going to go. Is the staff pretty much going to be the same?
Oh yeah, it's same team. I mean, it's going to be the team that we've built at Music City. We brought with us, and I guess we added a couple more people when we got to Phantom. Some of the younger teachers that aged out that we knew, were up and coming, and we want to literally pick up right from where we left off.
Nice.
And I know you will kind of use this opportunity, mentioned before we were recording, you all were doing some unique things with the audition process this year, doing like 1-day camps in a multitude of cities.
Yeah, so we're trying out a new thing. I mean, the full core is where we kind of trying a bunch of regional 1-day auditions. Some other drum corps have done something similar, but this is the first time Phantom is really going all out with it, where we had an LA 1-day audition where you can just sign up and sign up for your time slot and come do an individual, and we'll give you your status for the callback camp in December. We did one in Dallas last Sunday. We did one in Tulsa, Houston. We have one in Indianapolis next Sunday that Tyler and I will be at the day after BOA Grenats and the day after PASIC and everything. And then we have one in Rockford, obviously, like the home camp. But those are all, we're changing it up just to, like you were talking about, Evan, it's a little more affordable. It's just like a smaller commitment to just do the audition process. And then when we come to December, it'll be back to like the normal thing we're all used to with the full weekend. And that'll be the really like when we're stratifying everyone and figuring out who's going to be in the group is that December when I think we have 6 different locations for percussion that'll be coming together in December.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense to do it like that, at least for that first showing for an auditionee, because everything's getting more expensive nowadays, travel costs. And if you have someone that is on the cusp of wanting to do it or not, maybe if they know they have a shot, they'll do it. It's like, oh, there's one an hour away that I can drive through, do my individual, not have to buy plane tickets or any of that stuff, and see if they want to see me at all. So I don't potentially not waste my time, because you still educational benefits out of that clinic camp experience. But at the same time, it's like, I want to know if I got a shot here. If you're a little older, progressed in your career, it's like I can drive an hour and not have to use a plane ticket to see if this is like worth my time, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I should also say, we started this last year, but we liked it. But we're also just accepting any and all video auditions as another function. If for example, if someone isn't driving distance, so they don't have to like fly to Rockford for 1 hour and come back. We needed that option as well. But we're considering all of them the same. I mean, all those people will get a yes or no coming to December camp 2. So I guess that's really like 7 different areas we're pulling people in December.
Yeah, it's
Which
good
is
for the
gonna be,
members,
yeah,
and it's
awesome.
great for you guys. You guys get to sample probably more people that way because it's more
Oh yeah,
convenient for the members.
we've already had like twice as much full core. I mean, just like the amount of interest because of the regional thing. It's like we're only halfway done with the process, and I feel like it's already a success just because of the interest in the numbers.
Right.
And you know, from like a member perspective and like psychologically, like going to a camp, I remember was very intimidating when I was young. Like just the idea of like you're going in a room, like you kind of almost feel like everybody in there is going to be judging you. You're playing in the full room, then you do your individual, but like just having like a time slot, like I can just show up and play and like, you know, like
Yeah, we're trying to make it more like a, I don't know, like a professional audition. Like you're auditioning for the Air Force band, you come in for your time and you play the thing. And I mean, it's that first step is going to be the same. Obviously, it's different when you come to December, but yeah, just having, I think I'm hoping it's going to make it like maybe mentally less stressful, honestly, because you don't have the social setting, you don't have like the awkwardness of being in the room and not knowing the exercise. Just come into the room and play what you play well for us, so we can hear you play well, and then we'll, judge you on what you do best, rather than like the group thing where we just do our best to meet in the middle. But sometimes it's hard. You've all taught those huge groups. You're trying to meet in the middle, but the range is so huge. It's like you can only do so much.
Right. Makes sense. So I've got one more question.
What's
What
up?
is so going into next season, what's the vet situation look like? How many do you think you're going to return? Do you know yet officially, or?
Yeah, I should have this number memorized. I bet if you ask Tyler, he would know. But yeah, we do have significantly more than we've ever had, obviously, and it is just all the members that liked what we did and want to come back and build on what we have, hopefully. And I know we have at least some in every section, at least 2 I can think off the top of my head, maybe 7 or 8 in the front ensemble, which is going to be amazing.
nice.
Yeah, we didn't age out that many people in this group. It was a pretty young percussion section, probably because of what we talked about at the beginning, that we're young and up and coming, so maybe we didn't get as many of the age outs that were willing to take the chance. But the people that were young that have the extra years, I think they feel it, that we're like starting something new and we're going to be on the up and up for a while. So
Yeah, for sure.
thankfully, we're thankful that they feel that way too, and them coming back is what's making that whole thing possible.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I mean, it's definitely a testament to what you all were able to do in that first season. And like I said earlier, I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I can't wait to see what happens next summer. So,
Yeah, looking forward to catching the Phantom Regiment 2024. What's the show? I'm just kidding.
I want show title, musical selections. Give us the uniform pick to put on our Instagram. We need all of this.
Yeah.
Exogenesis again, just the
Same thing. Run it
Dude,
back.
they used to do that. Right back,
I know.
Phantom Regiment.
That's
or,
true, that
Phantom of
used
the
to happen.
Opera. Let's go. There's several shows that were back to back.
Well,
those are wild days.
You guys got anything else? I don't think I've got anything else we need to hash out.
I am good. Again, thanks for the time to come on and just talk band with us and
Much
talk about what's going on in Phantom Land and Rockford and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to catching it this summer.
Yeah, thanks guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So everybody, comment, like, subscribe. You know the drill. Share it with anyone you think would enjoy the content. Facebook, Instagram, Patreon. Hit the join button here on YouTube, and we will see everybody in the next one.
Peace.